Greetings, fellow quitters, and welcome back to the Command Q podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Maari Casey.
And I'm John Pelfrey.
And summertime is upon us. And with a lot of us spending more time with our families or going out of office to travel, we wanted to switch things up a bit. So today we're kicking off our new series of quick quits, which are bite-sized food for thought for the quitters on the go. For our first one, we're starting with something we're probably all doing right now, which is vacation planning, or in this case, over-planning our vacations. So if you've got summer travel coming up, this one might be for you. So we're going to talk about quit over-planning your vacation.
All right. Well, to get us started here, we've got a little warm-up question here. Do you have a story about traveling with someone who wanted to pack the itinerary? Or maybe you're the itinerary packer. I don't know.
You know, John. I've gotten a lot better. Yeah, I think, I have had a tendency in my past, well, actually better, I think, of overpacking my schedule or our itinerary, because especially when I was full-time, especially when I didn't have as much time to travel, and you have like 1 week off a year or 2 weeks off a year, I gotta hurry up and relax. And I'm like in this location. So when's the next time I'm going to be in like Paris or wherever? I need to maximize and see all the spots. And I think I've definitely been the one and I still do sometimes, if we have to make a stay productive and do something super awesome, so it's fun and relaxing. So let's get to it. And I have to keep myself in check. What about you?
Yeah, it's funny. We don't tend to overplan our vacations, but we always end up doing a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's not like we plan it before we go. It's much more of a day of feeling. We'll wake up in the morning, and if we don't feel like doing anything, then we don't do anything. But then if we feel like, go on whitewater rafting or whatever it is, then we'll go do that. I mean, sometimes you have to plan maybe a day in advance, but we try not to pack it full of things so that we're not disappointed if we don't get to everything. There was one summer, though, when we went to the mountains, and I feel like we did something every single day, and then I came back more tired than I left, and that's kind of silly too. But yeah, I don't tend to think of it a lot ahead of times, but I also don't, I would do that, I guess, if I was traveling a longer distance, or if I was going cross country or to Europe, I'd probably plan it a little bit more. But, just traveling for like summer vacation, going to the beach or the mountains, we tend to, take it pretty easy.
Yeah. I think it's definitely like there's two kind of people in the world, people who need a schedule. And then it seems like there's people who can just kind of jump on the plane or just backpack with nothing and hopes and dreams. And it's interesting because I do kind of feel like that's also based on where you are in your life. Because I feel like I've kind of been both people. I've been like, okay, well, let's go. Like, let's just take our backpack and go to Europe and we'll figure it out. But I think it's also like, as you have children and like you said, you travel to different locations, then there's a little bit more of a demand on, I'm not just going to the beach. I'm going to go to Prague. I should look at the train schedule.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you should probably look at the train schedule for sure. And you actually raise a really good point, which is when you're younger, you can definitely sort of just go with the flow a little bit more and, take off and do things you weren't expecting to do, because you don't have to plan for kids and you don't have to plan, when you're going to eat or when you've got to stop and maybe bedtimes or whatever those things are. And so that does require a lot more planning than when you're younger and you could just kind of go. And I'm almost to the opposite side of that, or the other side of that. My son's getting ready to go off to college. And so we're looking forward to going back to doing a little more travel, a little more, free form. Like, hey, I feel like going to the beach today, and it's a Saturday morning, and just like drive down to Wrightsville and come back in a day or something like that. We used to do that all the time in our 20s, but it just sort of became too difficult to plan, But yeah, I think I lean more on the just fly by the seat of your pants, because vacation to me is an adventure, I think, more than it is like a planned out series of activities. And even when I travel farther away, I still try to look at it as an adventure. If I discover things when I get there, I want to be open-minded to that feeling of, oh, well, that's really interesting. We should go try that or do that, as opposed to like looking on the internet and trying to see all the specific sites of a place that everyone has rated 5 stars and all that stuff. If I see something that I like, or there's a cool art gallery that is across the street from where I'm eating or whatever, might end up spending way more time in a place like that than I would have ever planned to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's important to like leave time for discovery, and, there's things that you should definitely plan before you go. Obviously, train tickets. And when we traveled to Portugal, we were there, the nice thing is we were there for 3 weeks. So we were there for a long time, which allowed for us to have these days of like no plans. But then we would say every time we would go to a location, we would say, what is the one thing or two things we want to do here? So it gives us like multiple days of like in between stuff. But we tried to like knock out a few things that we definitely wanted to see, and then just like leave the space for things just to kind of fall in, like the art gallery across the street or the extra long dinner or something like that. I think that's important to leave space for.
Yeah, I like that. So you plan a couple big things and then you leave space for everything else. And then that way you have something to look forward to, and something, especially if it does require tickets ahead of time. Like if you're going to New York and you want to see a Broadway show, you need to plan for that, because sometimes you can get day of tickets, but you got to stand outside and there's a whole process for that. So you even got to plan for, if you're doing the day of tickets thing, planning for that. So anytime you're going to do that big event, it does make sense. But yeah, I'm a really big advocate of, if you're having a good meal or you're in a museum or whatever, just be in that space and enjoy it for as long as you enjoy it. And then if you enjoy it for 15 minutes and you want to leave because it's not what you expected, you don't have to stay there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if you're the other way and you're expected to be in there for 20 minutes and you like end up talking to the shop owner and whatever, then that's part of the experience too, is getting to meet the people that are there.
Yeah. I think it's funny. It's like when you do travel and you're like, all right, we're going to go to Paris. So we got to go to the Louvre for 8 hours. And then we got to go to and you get there and you're like, I'm good, after 30 minutes. And then you feel this guilt of like, but I'm here and I should do the whole immersive 5-hour experience and then walk through the cathedral. And I think you can get to a place where you can also, and it's hard. It's like, do I really need to be here for the full thing? Or am I good? Did I enjoy it and move on? And I think that was something as I've gotten older, you're like, I want to go see all the things. But I remember when we were in Lisbon, there's this cool elevator. Everyone goes up and down, and it's this historic elevator that we were on a tour. And the guy's like, well, we can just walk up the stairs and then you can go in the top of the elevator, but you don't have to stand an hour for 2.5 hours, stand in line for 2.5 hours. And I was like, this conflict, like, but then I'm not riding it up. And like, but then I was like, but is that really worth standing in line for 2.5? I saw it. I walked in it, took a picture. It's cool. And so I think you learn to be a little bit more flexible. And when you do over plan your schedule and it's like this and this and this, and you allow no space, and like the day that you had planned to like go to the beach and it's rainy, then there's like disappointment where you make yourself go anyway and it's not fun, versus like, okay, well, let's just postpone this till tomorrow and go when it's sunny or, when it's open or something like that. So it's like that flexibility allows you to move things around versus being like, Monday I go here and Tuesday I go here and Wednesday I go here.
Yeah, absolutely. And weather is a big part of that too. You just mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're planning to do something outside and it's raining, your day doesn't have to be ruined. You can just switch days with something you were going to do inside. That is a good museum day for me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we always do when we travel to places. We try to find the local art museum or the local, whatever, aquarium, some sort of place to go that's inside at least one day, because you've got to plan for bad weather. And that day is always, that's like the flexible day. It's like okay, if all of our other plans are killed, we can still go to this indoor place, this indoor event. And we're big art lovers. So museums are a good place for us to go. But at the same time, sometimes they're, historical museums or, a train museum or whatever. Like it can be anything like that you want to. And of course, inside there's always shopping if you want to go spend money. You can always find a place to shop whenever you're traveling. It's funny how that works. But they are ready to feed you and sell you stuff anywhere you go. It seems like, and that actually is sort of another interesting part too, the food side of things. We try not to go to the touristy places when we go eat places, or when we go to cities and discover new things. We want to go to wherever the locals go. And so one of the first things that I'll do if I'm staying at a hotel is I'll ask the concierge, I'll say, look, I know you send everyone to the touristy place down the street. Tell me where you eat. Where do you go? And then they'll often tell you like other places off the beaten path, a little farther away. Sometimes those places are cheaper, which is wonderful. And the food is really, really good. And if that's where the locals are hanging out, then that's like the real authentic experience. I remember going to Philadelphia once. It was actually a work trip, but we ended up in this hole in the wall Italian restaurant, and I couldn't tell you how to get there, how to get back to there. I have no idea. But this guy that we were working with sent us to this Italian place. It was the best Italian food I've ever had in my entire life. But he warned me ahead of time. He's like, they don't take a credit card. You've got to take cash. So go, be prepared, take cash. It's in this little place. You're not, there's only one place to park. He told me where to park. He gave me all the like insider details. And so when I got in there, I was prepared and it was amazing. But absolutely not on any tourist checklist anywhere.
Yeah. And you have to leave room for magic to happen. And if you overschedule and like this goes to your life too, but there's no serendipity. There's no, I think wandering for cities is like one of my favorite things to do when we travel, because you come across a gelato. It's kind of like you have a little breakfast, and then you go and you have a gelato at 11, and then you just kind of like wander and eat and discover and collect. And if you overschedule, then you don't allow those things to happen. And I think part of when you're traveling with kids, which is hard, is when you're moving from young adulthood into having kids, where when you're a young adult and you don't have kids, you're like, I can go all day. I get up, I do all the things, we chill out, we can go till 10 o'clock. But with kids, obviously they can't, and you can't push them. Like if they're done, they're done. They'll make you miserable. And I see that a lot when we travel and we see families. And my heart goes out to them, because I've been in that space too, where you're just like, I just want to go see this one more thing. And they're done and they're just miserable, and they make the parents miserable. They make people around them frustrated. And I think especially when you have kids, you just vacation differently. Or we always say it's not a vacation, it's a trip when you're traveling with your family. Yeah. And that goes for allowing extra time for naps. That also goes for splitting up. Like we've done this now when we travel. It's like, it's okay for us to not be, we don't have to be together all the time, every single day. Like I can be with the kids watching a movie while like my husband likes to run. He'll go run, 6 miles or something. Or then I'll go meet up with a friend. And so I think it's also okay to look at, when you're planning things, to think about how can we be together, but how is it okay for us to also have some space apart from each other? Because it's all about like finding those opportunities to create space and calm. Because otherwise, you come back from vacation feeling like you need a vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. The feeling like you need a vacation after your vacation. That actually is another one of my things that I've learned over time, which is don't come home the day before you have to go to work, go back to work. Don't just like, oh, I got to go to work on Monday. We're going to extend the trip all the way to Sunday. I'm going to, get in the airport at 10 o'clock at night. Like, don't do that to yourself. That is just brutal. So I have like a 2-day rule now. So if I'm going to go take a trip, then I want to be home for 2 days before I go back to work, because that's my little like mini recovery, my little vacation after my vacation, to just like rest, sleep, catch up on, whatever else is going on in the world or in my life or any of that. Because when I'm on vacation, I want to be like sort of immersed in that place and in that space. And when I get home, inevitably you need to do the laundry, and you need to, probably pay some bills because you've been out of town for a week. Yeah. You don't want all of that to be crammed into a 6-hour block late at night before you go back to work on Monday morning. So I have a 2-day rule now, and that has made my life a lot better.
That's a good one. I come back on like a Thursday usually. So I have like 1 day in the office kind of to get emails done. And that way, when I come back, then I have a full weekend. And then when I come back, all that like week and a half of email backup is already pretty much taken care of. And that is helpful. But I do feel like it's, because nothing's worse than coming back in like your vacation glow, and then it's just like, slam, sorry. It's over. So I think that's a good tip.
Yeah. The times that I've done that, and that was when I was younger and I didn't realize, sort of like how hard it would be to like hit the ground running again and all of that. The times when I used to do that, I always found that the first week was just a wash. Like the first day was email. Yeah. The second day was like catch up on like with people and meetings or whatever. And also if you're gone now, I think this is a real danger too. If you have an automatic scheduler, if you have Calendly or something like that, and you let people book your time and you book your out of office time so that they can't schedule anything for a week with you, they are going to book the next earliest available time on your calendar. And so if you are out of office and then the next Monday you're in, you can guarantee you're going to be loaded up with like 4 or 5 meetings during that time as well. So that would be another one, is to plan that out of office calendar or your Calendly or whatever. Give yourself some space and some designated times after it for people to catch up with you without it all being like,
right. It's a soft re-entry.
Yeah. You need the soft re-entry. One, because you need to catch up on emails, but you also need to like get your head back in the space again of work and what the projects are and what's going on and what happened while you were gone. And you have to sort of like do a little bit of catch up. And if you end up in that first day or there's first couple of days and 4 or 5 meetings each day, you're actually going to be even farther behind. Because, sure, you can catch up a little bit talking to people, but I tend to be the type of person that wants to catch myself up first on what I can before I then go talk to people. That way I don't feel like they are having a different conversation from me because I missed a week's worth of information.
Yeah.
I want all the information in my head and at my fingertips, so that I feel like we're almost in the same place. Even if I'm behind a little bit, you can catch me up a little bit, but I don't want you to have to catch me up for a week and a half or whatever.
Yeah, it's like vacation planning, and I'm not saying over planning. It's before vacation, during, and then after. And that's where you can actually look at, because the hardest part about a vacation is if you're just like, it's a week and that's done. Like you said, you just jump immediately into work, or you walk out the door on a Friday where you're exhausted and then you catch a plane. Like there's no buffers. So it's like the first part of whenever we're looking at our vacation, the first half of it is like planning for, like, we like to spend time talking about where we're going. We let our kids be involved with, like, you pick something. Like Charlie wanted to go see the Ronaldo Museum, and like we had people each picked a thing. And so they felt like they were invested in the trip too, which was helpful. And we planned what we were doing with the space in between. And then afterwards, we're like, okay, we're going to come back on a Friday. So we have the weekend, and I'm going to try to get email done, or even like throughout the trip, maybe I'll check my email or delete spam. So it's not as like overwhelming. So I do feel like it's like looking at vacation as like a beginning, middle, and an after, as opposed to like just that week of intensity. For me, it always allows me to come back, like, even though I'm sad, I'm not on vacation anymore, allows me to come back and be like ramping back up, like kind of tapering off, enjoying it, and then ramping back up, as opposed to just this like plop of a week.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also just sort of going back to that pre part too, I think there's a lot of things that you can do to prep for when you come back ahead of time. Like for instance, we will always change the sheets in our bed before we leave on vacation, so that when we come back, we have fresh sheets.
Yes.
And it seems like a sort of like a silly afterthought thing, or, we clean the house, change the bed, do all this stuff, so that when we come back into the house, it's nice and we're not just hit over the head with like, oh, we got to do laundry now, and we've got to change the sheets, and we've got to vacuum, and we've got to this, and we've got, but I mean, obviously if we're gone for a week, we probably need to mow the grass, and that's going to be something you can't do ahead of time. But at least it's just like one or two little things, as opposed to like all the things.
Yeah.
So whether that's at your house or at your work, I think pre-planning, just to make it a nice place to come back to, and think about what those things are that you really hate to do when you come back from vacation. The things that like you're just like, oh, I'm not on vacation anymore, and that sucks. Like do some of those things beforehand, so that when you come back, it's like you can ease into it, and you're not just like slapped in the face with the real world all the time. Yeah,
that's great. That's a really good point. It seems like you almost do more planning out planning your vacation sometimes. But yeah, we do same thing: clean the house, put all the trash away. We have somebody mow the lawn when we're gone. So when we come back, it's like, we're walking home and everything's tidy, and all you got to do is get groceries. It's not just like I'm walking into paper and passports and trash and like all the chaos we left behind. I think that's a really good thing too.
Yeah. Do all the laundry so that you don't have, piles of laundry to do. All that stuff. Yeah. When I was traveling a lot for work, I felt like there were weeks I would, fly out on a Sunday night. I would come back on a Friday afternoon, Friday night. I'd have just enough time to wash my clothes on Saturday, maybe go eat dinner with my wife. And then it was like Sunday was like pack, go to the airport, get back on the plane. And I would do that process over and over and over again. And it felt like I was never, this is business travel and not vacation, but it felt like I was never really home. I was just there to like clean myself up again, to start over.
Yeah.
And I think that you can do the same thing with vacation too, if you're not careful. So yeah, so pre-plan those things that you really don't want to do when you get back. Just go ahead and do a few of them before you leave.
Yeah. And I agree. I think the logistics of while you're on vacation, what are the things that would give you the most stress if they didn't work out? Knowing the ferry times, knowing the train times, knowing your airplane times, making sure you have copies of your things. That's what I always try to like hit the things on, like, this is the baseline. I need to know like, where's the passports, all that kind of stuff. And then everything else we can figure out. Like, we don't make dinner reservations ever ahead, because it's like, sometimes I'm like, I might think I want to go eat here, and then that night somebody doesn't feel good, or we're on the other side of town. Like, I don't want to stress about running across and trying to make that reservation. So it's like, really focus on planning the things that are essential, and then leaving all that space for things just to kind of fill in as they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to have your train tickets, your hotel reservations if you're moving from city to city, all that stuff. Definitely plan it out in detail, and then just leave space for the other stuff. I like the idea of not having reservations ahead of time. Maybe you make them day of if you feel like it. But unless there's that like one restaurant that the whole reason you traveled to the city,
maybe that
place,
the French Laundry, sure.
Yeah. If you're going to the French Laundry, absolutely, sure. You want to plan that one ahead of time. But honestly, if you're doing that and you're doing like a food vacation, it's built around that experience,
Yeah.
right? And so you're going to plan around that experience. But for the most part, when we're traveling, we're probably not, focusing just on one thing. A lot of times you've got different things. Food might be one part of it, but then, shopping could be another part and sightseeing could be another part. Yeah, just leave some flexibility. And then those things that are important to you, I like that. Plan those things out and then make sure all of your logistics are taken care of. That's also where, sometimes I know in the internet age too, we think we can do our own travel planning, but there are really amazing travel agents and planning services that will help you with this stuff too.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to seek those out. I've had friends that have started a couple of friends that have started travel agency companies built around the idea of giving you a local experience. And so, I think that's a pretty cool way to do it too. If you don't want to do it, there's somebody else that can take that burden off of you. You can use ChatGPT to plan your vacation too. There are people out there that are doing that right now and help you find, the best deals and the best locations. And so there's other ways to do it. If you're not the type of person that wants to just, dig through the internet and find all the really interesting places, like use the tools that are available to you. Travel agents, friends. A lot of times, this is another thing too. I have a lot of friends, and you do too, who do a lot of traveling. And so if I'm going to a place, I will often ask people, hey, have you been here before?
Steal their itinerary.
Yeah. When you were there, what are the 2 or 3 things that I have to go do that like I really shouldn't miss? And then what are the things that I can skip? That's another very important one. Because sometimes that like big tourist thing, it's like, whatever. Like, so going to New York, you can go take the elevator to the top of the Empire State Building and it's cool and all, but there are a lot of tall buildings in New York where you don't have to wait hours and you don't have to spend whatever it costs for the ticket now. I have no idea what it is, and so for me, that's one of those where I would tell people, like, unless you just really want the romantic experience of that particular building, there's plenty of places where you can get up high and see stuff.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like when you're doing your early planning, it's like write out a priority list. What are the top 3 things? Like for us, we're going to get ready to go to the beach. It's like, okay, we want to spend time on the beach. We want to spend time snorkeling. We want to spend time together. Like, is food a high priority? Not necessarily. Like, it's not a big deal. So I think it's important to like make that priority list and then focus on those things. And if your priority is like spending time with my family and, going to museums, and those are, and let everyone participate. And then the rest of things, just let go of and like either let someone else plan them or deprioritize and be like, we'll find a place to eat when we get there. I think that's like a nice way to go at it too.
Absolutely. And if you're coming to North Carolina, make time to go to Cookout. It's a fast food place that everybody loves locally. And it seems silly to recommend fast food, but there's one in every town and you can only get it here. So lightning round, what is the maximum number of people you should try to take to a restaurant in a touristy area?
That's a hard question because I think if you have kids, they can equal like 6 people and they're one person, but tiny body. So I would say I would look at how busy it is. We tend to eat off hours. We like to eat old people hours. So we'll either eat a late lunch or a very early dinner. We like to master the linner is what we call it. And that we open like right when the restaurant's open. So we kind of beat the crowd of like dinner time when we have a family eating. If it's just my husband and I, sure, we'll go sit at the bar and wait for a table to open up. But if you're eating with a family, I would say try to do early as possible. And then also understand if you're traveling in Europe and other places, very different experiences with eating dinner. So I would absolutely, ask and check cultural differences in dinner time because they tend to be a lot longer. They don't have kids menus a lot of times. And so there's just a lot of things you should pay attention to if you're traveling with younger kids, but with families too. It's just understanding like US versus Europe is very different when you're eating out.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times they start later, much later than we do. So your dinner might end up being at like 7
It's actually
p.m.
lunch. Or like eat at lunch.
Yeah, or you got to eat lunch. Right. I mean, in terms of numbers, my thought is the number that came to my head was 4, just because, most tabletops are 4s. And if you're asking people to put tables together, then that always causes chaos in a restaurant, it seems like. And it means that you're having to wait for 2 tables to open up.
Yeah.
So 4 to me is kind of that max number. But I like your idea of off hours. We do the same thing. We tend to eat a late breakfast. A lot of times we'll eat it like 9 or 10. And so then that will cover us until 2 or 3. And we take snacks to eat to get us, over the hump if we're going to wait for that like early dinner time, or we'll get the late lunch. We'll start to see when people are like trickling out of the restaurants and then like sneak in. But lunch for us, a lot of times when we're traveling, is a snack or a like something quick. That way we can do the early dinner and eat well, and then go back and rest and all that, for the next day.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think about hotel or Airbnb? What's the best sort of travel?
I am Airbnb all the way as well when you have kids. Like when you're traveling with a family, absolutely 100,000% Airbnb. Everyone needs a room. Everyone needs space. If it's just like you and your spouse or you and one other person or just you by yourself, I think hotels are great because you get to meet people. And sometimes they're just really cool and eclectic. But yeah, we've done both, and we'll never do a hotel again unless we're doing like 2 nights. If you're staying for a significant period of time, and once you're in a hotel, most of the time it's like you're having to eat out breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's not a lot of storage for stuff, so you have clothes everywhere, and I can't stand clutter. And so I'm always like, we need at least a 1-bedroom Airbnb or a condo or a space to have people's stuff away.
Sure. Yeah. I tend to think of it as if I'm spending 1 night or 2 nights somewhere, hotel. If I'm spending longer, Airbnb. I like to have laundry facilities available because I like to travel with a ton of clothes. I'll travel with like 3 days worth of stuff. And so most of the time, because you really only need like 1 pair of jeans or some going to eat dinner outfit. And then the rest of it is, walking around or exercise or whatever. And, but yeah, so I like to have laundry facilities, which Airbnb, most places you have an option for laundry. I also like to cook my own breakfast, unless I'm at a place where they have just an amazing breakfast experience. I like to cook my own breakfast. That saves a little money. I kind of like my routine, my morning routine. And I don't like that to change when I'm on vacation a whole lot, because we're going to be out adventuring the rest of the day a lot of times. So yeah, so a little bit of both. Traveling 2 places, definitely hotel. Once I get there, Airbnb. I think that's the way I would look at it. All right. So airplane or road trip?
I don't know. I think both. I mean, I fly, so I obviously I need to get in the airplane if I'm going to Portugal or someplace else. So I don't mind air travel. Again, you just have to be patient and understand that things can happen and they're beyond your control, and just allow space for it. So if you're going to travel on an airplane, don't say, okay, we land at 6 a.m. That means at 10 a.m. we can start this tour. Like, don't allow for space around air travel, because it's things will happen. And expect them to happen, and prepare for them to happen. And I think with road tripping, I love getting someplace. Like we got to Portugal and we got a car and we road tripped, and that was super fun. So with a road trip, you really do get to see other sides of places that you otherwise don't see when you're just flying airport to airport. So I think it's a combination of both. As a kid, all I did was road trips. We didn't fly. And there was a lot of fun, silly, weird stuff that happened on our trips, into the small towns and stuff. So
yeah, we definitely road tripped a lot as a kid. I wasn't on an airplane until I was in college, so it never really flew at all. I tend to think of it in terms of distance. If it's 12-hour drive or less, then road trip. That allows me to control my own itinerary. It means that I'm driving my own car. It means that I could do it in a day if I wanted to. And the truth is, like, if I'm flying, let's say I'm flying from here to Louisville, Kentucky, if it takes me 10 hours to drive there versus flying where it's going to take me 5 hours or 6 hours of time from the time I leave my house, get to the airport, do all the stuff, get on the plane, get there, get my bags, get the rental car, that could still take 5 to 6 hours worth of time. If there's a layover, it could take even longer. If I have to fly to Baltimore and then go to Louisville or whatever that thing is. So I've found that, it might save me a few hours, but my ability to have control over my itinerary, just because I've been stuck in places overnight and things like that. So I'd rather have control over it in that way. Mine is 12 hours or less, road trip. More than 12 hours, plane. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to drive to Colorado or California. I mean, I would love to do that one day, but I mean, you're talking about that's going to be a 3-week long real road trip out and back,
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for today. If this episode gave you an idea for our Quick Quit series, we'd love to hear from you. You can visit us at commandqpodcast.com to learn more about joining our community of proud quitters and to check out our full episode library. You can also check Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, I'm John.
And I'm Maari.
And we're reminding you that quitters can win and winners can quit. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the guest's own and do not necessarily represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Command Q or Uncompany.